What is up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to do another entry for the Glow Crazy contest for Beats by Deb Cosmetics, and for this one I was thinking about just using the colors yellow, green, and blue from their pigment stack. I just wanted to do like a cool face paint look with it, and I had some like special effects products. This prosthetic in particular, these are like small horns that I got from Cabaret Cosmetics. I would just literally go on their website and then just search like prosthetics, and like that's how I found them. I didn't even know that they had them. Usually I would get them from DEETZ Pro. It's like a website. They have like an Instagram and stuff. Definitely check them out because their prosthetics are like chef's kiss. They're a little bit more expensive, but I feel like the quality is a lot different than these. I feel like these still do their job, but this was like my first time trying to basically like clean up the edges with alcohol, which y'all will see in a second. But I just put the Pros 8 original adhesive on the back of it, and I try to make it a thin coat. Like you don't want it to be like dripping like while it's like, you know, on the back of it, but you want it to be enough that's actually on a stick. And apparently like when you're doing prosthetics like this, mind you, I am still a beginner. Like I've watched like shows like Face Off and stuff. I tried to watch like certain videos about like, you know, applying prosthetics. I definitely need to do a lot more research and like figure out like what the best method it is when it comes to blending them with your skin, because I feel like that's the only issue I've been having with prosthetics, is figuring out like how to make them look a little bit more realistic. I feel like this like technique, like trying to get the edges a little bit like smoother with alcohol, like kind of worked, but I feel like it's just a prosthetic. Like if I used the one from DEETZ, I feel like, because they would come differently packaged, like they had like clear areas around like the other part. Like you see how there are like edges of the horn, there would be like a clear like film like outside of that, if that makes sense, and then that's the area that you would blend with alcohol. But this one came differently. But I mean, I still tried it out because like I said, I'm still practicing, trying to figure out like what the best method is when applying prosthetics. So if y'all have any tips, let me know. But I'm taking this liquid latex from Be-YOU-tiful, and I'm basically taking a brush. I RP to this brush because it was like stuck as I don't know what afterward. I'm gonna try and see if I can wash it and get it back and like, you know, I don't even know, rehabilitate, I don't even fucking know. But if not, I'll just have to get a new brush. It's all good. But I basically have been tapping like light layers of the glue from like the edge of the prosthetic onto my skin to make the transition look a little bit more seamless, because I didn't want it to be so stark. So basically like the liquid latex, like me doing a double layer, was basically trying to make it like a little bit more, you know, consistent, if that makes sense. I don't even know. But I knew I wanted to do like this like graphic design type like style. Like I do doodles on my face like this all the time, and I was like, I think I'm gonna like layer it, like try to do them underneath. That way it kind of looks like, you know, scarring in a way, because I usually do this with just like color fix when I'm done. But I wanted to try something new, because I remember like a while ago when people were doing like, I forgot what trend it was, but they were like peeling it off with their makeup and then having like the bare skin underneath. And I never tried it, but like I'm just taking note of the technique and stuff. And I actually did do 2 layers for like each one. You don't see all of it because I definitely got a lot of footage, because girl, we would have been here all day. It was so much footage. It took me a little second to do this look, but I absolutely love how it came out. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that like you could see them like when I did my foundation or my base. Like that's why I did 2 coats, just to make it a little bit more, you know, I don't even know, like just thick in a way, really have like a solid like consistency. And I decided to do my brows blue. When it came to this makeup look, like I had ideas of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do the yellow as like the highlighter parts of my face, the green as like my base, and the blue as like contour bronzer. And I used the yellow color fix, and I was gonna go ahead and do my eyes first, but when I tell you, I was like, I don't necessarily know what direction I want to go when it came to like the horn colors and like my eyeshadow. That's why I just decided to go ahead and do my entire base first. That way I can kind of see how my base looks and basically build up the rest of the look based on that, if that makes any sense. So it's not my normal routine, but I feel like it was the best routine for this type of look. And I'm just setting it with some translucent powder from Deb Cosmetics. This is their She's Alive translucent powder from the Universal Monsters collab they released last year, like kind of like October, September-ish. And now I'm going to take the Made by Mitchell color case, and I like to use this one whenever I do like fun colors for like my base and stuff. I like to use this one just because I feel like it's a little bit easier to work with than the color fix for your base. The color fix, you know, it'll get your job done, but it's like you have to be like very like intentional with the color case. I mean the color fix from Destiny Myers Beauty, because like you can't like apply the product and then try to blend it out like with product all over your face. Like you need to go section by section. But basically I was trying to get like a greenish base, and I was like, you know what, this is good enough, because I knew like the pigment I'm going to use to like set my base and stuff is basically going to change it anyway. And I used some of the Chemical X like it's basically like kind of making it like a liquid, if that makes sense. Like if you want to do a loose pigment, you could use that to basically make a liner, and that's how I did like later on in the video. But I was just doing this just to make the consistency of the base product a little bit lighter, or like a little bit more liquidy, if that makes sense. That way I can like control it a little bit more, because when it comes to cream all over, like you can make it look good, but like sometimes when it's too thick, it's like kind of iffy when you're trying to like blend it out and like layer on top of it. So I wanted this to resemble more of a liquid like foundation, but it's still giving balm, just not too intense. And when it came around like me doing my brows and my horns, I got smaller brushes just because I wanted to be a little bit more purposeful. I didn't want to blend with that big old brush and then like have to cover up a lot of stuff later on. So that's why I'm trying to be very careful with this. Normally I would just do my horns like actually like, you know, clearing stuff off of my face like before I apply it. But like I said, like the original idea I had for the color of the horns would have gave this a completely different vibe. So I'm glad that I did wait and just like do like basically paint it on my face. And yeah, this is like what we're looking at. And I'm gonna spray my face with the Morphe Prep Consistent, what is it? Prep and Set Continuous like spray or something like that. And I mean, I feel like it's good. It's like a hydrating spray, and I like to use that type of spray especially when I'm doing my face paint looks, because it's very easy for the base to get dried out. So I want to make sure I'm like trying to keep as much moisture as possible. And I'm using that same color fix from the Inspired TV that I used to carve underneath my brows, and I'm just blending it out. And you see that my base, since it's like greener, me applying this yellow changed the undertone of like my highlighted areas, which, you know, now my eyebrow like area, or my eyeshadow area, looks a different shade, but you know, we're gonna make it work anyways. And I'm just going back in with that brush I used for my base just to blend the transition between those two colors. And now I'm using the Creativity Stick from Beats by Deb Cosmetics because I really did want to try it out. That's kind of the reason why I got it, because I was like, I'm gonna do a face paint look with it, and blue is definitely a color that I will definitely use. And I feel like it did pretty well. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I like it, and I will be trying out, like, or I'll be using it more for different things, so you know, stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm just taking my Made by Rachel brush. I love to use this brush whenever I'm doing my like cream or like liquid like bronzer, so you know, I just transfer like the techniques. And I'm just using a smaller brush just to make sure my like contour is a little bit more precise, spraying it once again to retain some of that moisture. And I'm trying to make sure I get all over my face. And now we're going on with this pigment stack from Beats by Deb Cosmetics. My bad, my brain just went out for a little second. But whenever I use like these pigments like this, I like to use these to actually set my face. And I feel like this helps when you do face paint makeups, because it will actually give, you know, more pigment than like your base in itself. That way everything looks a little bit brighter. That's why I don't go too hard when I do my like base, like my cream or liquid base, because I know that like the pigment is gonna come like when I set it, so it doesn't really matter. Like if it's a little bit translucent, I can make it shake. And I use like basically a smaller brush, like whatever I would use to normally like set my face, and I dip my brush in the product and then I tap it off into the like cap of it, and then I apply it. That way, like, I mean, I'm gonna get pigment everywhere. You see pigment going everywhere right now, but that's a way to just kind of create a like consistent base when you're picking up the brush and like patting it on. That way like one area isn't getting more product than other area, and like it gets splotchy and stuff. And I'm just using that green all over my face. I just used a random brush from Moda brush. Like I didn't have like a bigger brush, and I didn't want it to be too big, because like, especially because I have like the horns, like I have some area that's not going to get covered up. Like I have like a smaller amount of area that I normally work with. And then I want that blue, and this is like the cleanest like brush I have for like a bronzer moment, so that's why I just grabbed it. It's usually the brush I use for like blush and stuff, but I feel like it worked pretty well for this. And I'm just going around the perimeter of my face, and you see that the base I have does kind of like change the tone of the color. So like be mindful whenever you're doing face paint look like this. If you want something to be more true to like the color of like the actual pigment, I would suggest doing the white base. But I'm not gonna lie to you, like I have to figure out like a white base that I really love, because I feel like I struggle the most whenever I'm trying to do a white base. And I don't know if it's just like the pigment in itself or like the products I use, but like sometimes it's just so hard to get a consistent base. And like I feel like it's a little bit less opaque than the other bases I do when I do these fun makeup looks. So that's just something I'm gonna work on, and whenever I find a good product, I'm gonna let y'all know. But anyway, for my eyeshadow, I really just wanted to do something random, like a different like eyeshadow look, because I always do cut creases. I love me a good cut crease, and I feel like it's just a go-to like moment for me. I practiced so hard doing cut creases years ago, like between like that 2014 like 2017 era. Me and some cut creases went together really bad. But anyways, I just decided to do kind of a fun look when it came to like the eyeshadow, trying to make it look a little bit more graphic, if that makes sense. And I tried to stick to the colors that I've used within this look, because I didn't really want to pull from any colors that I didn't use. Try to keep the color scheme, you know, intact, if that makes sense. I don't even know. But I decided to go with this like play pigment from Deb Cosmetics, just to add a little brightening effect to the like inner corner of my eyes. And I'm going in with this makeup a murder like eyeshadow palette. I just got this the other day, and I actually like the shimmers. Like I feel like they're really pigmented, and they're probably gonna be one of my favorites coming up like the next couple months and stuff. So you know, you'll probably see it in a phase video, but just a heads up. And this was actually the first time I actually used it, so I love to see it. I was really testing out a lot of products that I hadn't really been using that much, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. And I decided to just do the horns as like a yellow color, because I feel like it just popped, because like I feel like the green was gonna be doing too much, and the blue was already used like around it to kind of like add shadow. So I was like, the yellow I feel like would make it pop. And I just used that play pigment, the white one. I don't know what happened to the footage, but my camera shut off when I was doing it, but I just applied it all over the horns before I added the pigment. And I was looking at my face in the mirror, and I was like, damn, you can see my mustache hard as hell. And I forgot, like I usually shave my mustache, but I'm gonna be really paying attention, and I only shave my mustache during the look. I would not recommend that, but I did it because it was like making the makeup look really weird, and I was like, I don't like this. So I was like, let me just try to shave my mustache real quick. And I'm spraying my face once again to make sure I keep that hydration. And now I'm going to mix this loose pigment from JelliWink Cosmetics with the Chemical X I used earlier for like my base. And I'm basically making this like more of like a liquidy product. That way it's a little bit easier to like apply and basically make it feel like it's like an eyeliner in a sense. And I just went over all of like the areas I put that liquid latex, and I feel like it does help it like pop a little bit more. And I feel like me doing the liquid latex underneath actually makes it like look like the designs are like literally like my skin, if that makes sense. So I like this technique, and I probably will be doing it more. I need to practice, especially when it comes to like the area around my like chin or whatever, because like I was like talking in TikToks and stuff, trying to do TikToks, and like I looked back and I was like, bro, like why is it peeling? So I don't know, maybe I'll just stay away from putting it underneath my chin, but everywhere else it was fine. That was like the only area, and I was shocked. And then I took some of that leftover product, and I'm basically like tapping it on like to just add some shimmer and just dramatics to my eye, spraying my face one more time. And I make sure I let my face dry before I move on. And I'm using the One Size Point Made eyeliner, and I'm basically just like lining my lower lash line because I love to do that. Like it gives a sultry effect. And I'm taking this like felt tip liner from Makeup and Murder. This is my first time using it. I'm not really a fan of felt tip liners. Like I feel like they're harder for me to work with, and I really like I don't want to have to like struggle or like fight with my eyeliner. As you see, like I have to move a lot slower trying to like make it look opaque. But I feel like it was okay, you know. Is it gonna be my favorite one? Probably not, because like I said, I don't really like felt tip liners. But I got it in a mystery box, so I mean at the end of the day it's all good. And I'm just happy I got to like try it out, because I would not be buying the felt tip liner just because, so you know. But anyways, now we're using this Question of Beauty. This is actually a brand in New Zealand, and I absolutely love the products. Like they're pretty good quality, and I love the color schemes. But this is one of their like loose pigments, and I just decided to use this as a highlighter because I felt like it went with the vibe. It's like it looks white in like the container, but like the reflect is basically like green and it's more translucent in my opinion. And I actually want to add it to the horns too, just to make it extra sparkly, because you know I love like the dramatics and whatnot. And I'm just adding it to my brow bone, and I decided to add some underneath my like my cheekbones, yeah. And I'm setting it now with the liquid lock from Made by Mitchell, because at this point now I'm done with my base. Like I'm completely done. And now I'm going in with my mascara wand. This is the So Hot mascara from Milk Cosmetics. And yeah, it's like a mascara that you could use for your top and bottom lashes. Usually I would only use this for my bottom lashes, but it's big enough to like apply for my top lashes, and I have like the smaller end to make it a little bit more precise when I do my bottom lashes. I added some clear lash glue to my eyebrow slits, and I'm adding these Ocean Eyes rhinestones to my eyebrow slit just to go with the look. Y'all know I love putting rhinestones in my eyebrow slit. And these are some lashes I got from the beauty supply store last time I went, and these are new to me, and I actually kind of like them. And now I'm spraying my face with the Onto Doll and the glitter spray. That spray is so fucking strong, y'all. It is so strong. And I really only use it when I do fun looks like this, because I feel like when I apply it to like my base, like my normal base, I feel like it kind of looks weird. I don't know. I feel like a golden version would eat a lot better like on my skin. And then I was looking at my eyes and I was like, it needs something else. So I decided to add more rhinestones around my face. I used the Ocean Eyes ones. And now I'm adding my lashes on. And I think me adding the lashes right now was good, because I want to add more rhinestones, but I was like, I need to put my lashes on, and I feel like it's a good thing, because when I tried to put the rhinestones on after the areas I planned on putting it, you were not going to be able to see it. But anyways, I like to tilt the like mirror underneath my face. That way it's a little bit easier for me to apply the lashes. And now I'm using the mermaid lashes from Get Stoned. I don't have many left, so I just have to use the really tiny ones. And I'm taking that Play Pigment and Player One from Trixie Cosmetics to basically like cover my like individual lashes, because I want to do a pop of color. And then I took like the yellow like neon pigment on top to like basically make it yellow, and the white just made it pop a little bit more to be a little bit more pigmented. That's just the method I normally use. And usually I would just apply this to the lash before I even put it on my face, but I never realized I wanted a pop of color until I saw like the makeup like with the lashes, and I feel like it just added a little, you know, je ne sais quoi, or a little bit of like dramatics. And now I'm using that creativity stick because I wanted to like match with like the colors like I use, and I'm using that blue for the perimeter of my lip combo. And now I'm taking the Color Fix from Smudge. We do the same one I used earlier, and I'm just tapping this on basically the blend and make an ombre effect, because I love doing like the darker color and the lighter color I use for face paints to like do my lip. I feel like it just eats 10 times better. And I decided to go back in with that pigment stat just to make the colors pop a little bit more. So I'm adding that blue to the outer areas, and then you're gonna see me use that same yellow I've been using in the middle areas. And yeah, I feel like these neon pigments are like very versatile. You just have to be creative when you come to products like this. Figure out how you can use them in the ways that like, you know, you normally do your makeup, and just go for it. And after I like styled the look and stuff, I decided to add this gloss because I don't want to mess up my makeup like while I was actually like changing stuff. But this is the final look. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Check out my Instagram for pictures, and then my TikTok for content. And I just want to say I love y'all so much, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.